AITA for switching out my daughter's school lunches behind my wife's back? I am not Oop. Oop is you. Last advice 5907. He posted in r, am I the asshole? Fun fact to cover up spoilers. You, Captain 7640 requested sharks. This time I googled, nicest sharks, and whale sharks came up immediately. Whale sharks have been known to help divers and don't mind humans. While only 10% of whale sharks survive into adulthood, those that do can live between 70,100 years. They also have tiny teeth that cover their eyeballs for protection. One whale shark had 3,000 teeth around its iris. Trigger warning. Racism. Bullying. Less than. Mood spoiler. Compromise is achieved. Less than. Original post. March 14, 2023. My wife Sarah, 36F, and I, 35M, have an 11-year-old daughter named Lily. Lily had begun attending 6th grade in September. But this problem only recently became a major issue. Sarah is Indian and makes great dishes that the whole family enjoys, and tends to pack these lunches for Lily as well. She typically packs Lily a rice with dal in a container or something similar, which she had no issues with in elementary school. However, recently Lily came sobbing to her mom and I about the lunches she took. The kids at school had been making fun of her food, which absolutely made my heart break. I had struggled with the same thing at her age. I come from a Chinese family and would always take homemade food to school too. And when I asked her if she wanted us to report the problem, she begged us not to so she wouldn't be called a snitch, or worse. When Sarah heard this, she simply contacted the principal, which I didn't want to resort to at first, and left the issue, telling Lily she wouldn't be buying school lunch and to just ignore the other kids. The same problem occurred every day. Lily would be coming home feeling extremely upset, and there were even times Sarah would yell at Lily for not even touching her school lunch. We both had talks with Lily about her culture and how she should be proud. Have contacted the schools, but the school is ignorant of the issue. They simply had a talk with the parents and ended it there. And Lily isn't budging. I don't want her to starve, because so many days she doesn't even eat her lunch. I know how brutal middle schoolers can be, and I didn't want Lily to feel insecure or upset even if it meant making her take other lunches. But Sarah refuses to make other lunches. I began to make other lunches for Lily, like sandwiches, or sometimes mac and cheese, so she'd feel more comfortable eating it in school in front of her classmates as a final resort. When nothing else worked, I would take Lily's lunch for myself at work and pack her own lunch early in the morning, which she finished and seemed happier when coming home daily after. However, this only worked for about 2 weeks until Sarah found out and was infuriated. She said I was denying Lily her culture and she needed to learn to stop being insulted by other kids, telling me I'm raising Lily to get whatever she wants. Is Sarah right? AITA? Edit. Bringing this post and topic up tonight. I'll post an update when I can. Hopefully this is enough to convince Sarah. If not, I'll do what other comments said and just keep packing Lily's lunch or let her pick. Oop is voted NTA. Update post. March 14, 2023. 8 hours later. Okay, so I'll start by saying thank you for all the comments. A lot of people agreed with me. Some told me I should let Lily pick her lunch. I showed the post to Sarah and it took about an hour or so. But we both sat down and talked with Lily on where she wants to go from here, and she said she liked the lunches I packed her, etc. However, we also figured out this bullying had been going on for longer than just 23 weeks. So Sarah agreed to let Lily take whatever lunch she wanted on the condition that she'd eat homemade food, Chinese or Indian, for dinner, breakfast still, and we all agreed. So Sarah got her part in it. As for the school, Since the principal hardly did anything, we reached out to the school board superintendent and are still waiting for a response. I think this solved the issue better too. And when we get a response, I'll post a second update. Thank you for the advice. This seriously breaks my heart. I'm not saying avoidance is wrong, but kids shouldn't still have to go through this when their parents went through the same thing. Middle schoolers might be some of the cruelest little homunculi in existence. My wife was bullied for her homemade lunches. Being the only Viet kid in her 1980s Melbourne school, now people can't introduce themselves without declaring their undying love of Vietnamese food. Indian and Chinese lunches sound like a dream compared to my 12 years of ham and cheese sandwiches. Sad to see high school is still the worst part of people's lives. Sometimes avoidance is the best survival technique. I am glad Oop and wife were able to compromise. I am super disappointed in the school though. Bullying and racism should not be accepted. I understand wanting your kids to be proud, but you shouldn't be forcing 11-year-olds to fight adult battles against racism and stupidity. Middle school is the worst time of your life. Hopefully, your parents othering you when you are desperate to fit in just makes it worse. Shout out to my aunt who let me spend $100 on 4 t-shirts from Abercrombie & Fitch in 6th grade. Seriously, was the confidence boost I needed. Was it ridiculous? Of course. Are middle school kids ridiculous, cruel pack animals constantly willing to shun the weak one? Also, of course. I misread your fun fact and thought you Googled incest sharks. I laughed. Then I read about them having teeth around their eyeballs. Remembered the Corinthian and shuddered. What a roller coaster. I couldn't eat fried chicken or watermelon in public for years. Certainly not at school. If I did, I'd be made fun of. Racism sucks. I get wanting your child to know their culture and heritage. But if she's being ridiculed so badly for it that she stops eating? No, I'm sorry. I'd be making that girl a sandwich. Culture is important, but being alive and healthy is literally the most important thing. Middle school especially is brutal. My oldest son is security at ours and he sees stuff and hears stuff you wouldn't believe. When Lily gets to high school, things will likely calm down. She'll have a more established friend group, and she may start bring her Indian, Chinese lunches again. But for now, her mental and physical well-being is way more important than trying to force a lesson on culture. While I understand that the bullying shouldn't be happening, the fact that it's continuing regardless of going to the school makes me wonder why Sarah didn't stop insisting on Indian food for the sake of her daughter's emotional well-being. I remember a teacher saying, out of all the grades she has ever taught, middle schoolers are the worst. Shit. I pack Indian lunches for my husband every day. IWFH. And I never thought anything like this would happen to him, and thank God it didn't, because he would break even as an adult. I can only imagine what that child must be going through to go hungry to avoid the bullying. I am glad Dad understands and has her back, and they finally reached a middle ground. This reminds me of my time in elementary school when I studied in the USA. My mom would pack me dosas. And when I complained to her that people were giving me looks, she stopped calling it dosa and started calling it pancakes. It didn't solve the issue of weird looks at school, but it seemed to satisfy me. I stopped caring at some point, lol. Oof, I was definitely Lily in middle school. I asked my mom to make me sandwiches instead of bringing rice in a thermos. Turns out cold soggy sandwiches suck and isn't filling. And cheese strings is nasty when warm. I went back to hot lunches after and didn't care what people said as long as it wasn't smelly. No one really cared. I get where Sarah and Lily are coming from, but as an Indian who still lives in the country, I'll have to side with Lily. Not sure about OOP's culture, but Indians tend to get more pissy about their culture when living abroad simply because there isn't enough of it to go around. Yes, even with the advent of Indian cinema in the West. In an ideal world, Lily's schoolmates would respect the cultures she represents and leave her be, but Sarah's reaction to the problem is the typical Indian parent's reaction to their child's issues. I'm glad they were able to address this as a family, but we really need to stop forcing our kids to conform to our expectations in the name of cultural preservation. I'm probably a little more passionate about the issue because my own family does this to their kids. So when they visit, they realize that we're as globalized as they are, if not more, and have worked out how to preserve our cultural identity in the midst of it all. As a result, they're pissed off with their parents for subjecting them to much stricter rules than us. Especially in cases like the post "I'll stop rambling now." Middle school kids are all assholes because they haven't learned how important personal integrity is. Yet, their brains haven't fully developed yet, so less empathy, and they haven't had enough time to develop their instincts for that fun teasing, too far boundary. Seriously, let the daughter be as mainstream as possible until the mean kids either drop out or shape up. She needs all available energy to go into learning and personal development, not fighting insurmountable odds. The mother values her culture more than she values her kid. I'm so glad this got a good resolution for Lily and Sarah both. Unshocked the school did nothing. They never do. The bullying goes a lot deeper than the presentation of lunch. How wrong it may be, you just don't use your kids to make a point. You try to teach them to be strong enough to make a stand themselves. I understand why Sarah was heated, in the sense that she doesn't want Lily to feel ashamed of her culture. But at the same time, I think it's important to teach children that they have agency in how they respond to ignorance and racism. Taking on the mantle of educating everyone is exhausting for adults, to say nothing of doing it as a kid with other kids who may not yet fully understand the nature of their behavior. It shouldn't be an 11-year-old kid's job to deal with or explain bigotry to other 11-year-olds. I'm glad Sarah came around. Hopefully the school system does as well.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AITA is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.